It's so nice to see you guys. Okay, this is going to be a little bit different tonight, guys. I've been collecting questions for Johnny and Joanna, and our theme tonight is what would Johnny and Joanna do? And we're not going to do the quirky questions tonight. We're basically the kind of questions we're going to ask are anything that you stop yourself in the day and you think, you know those things where you don't know how to communicate about a deadline, or you're worried about what somebody thinks about you, or you don't know if your view of awards or this or that is right. If you've got a question, if you post it under questions here, I will anonymously ask Johnny and Joanna, fit it in with the people that have already sent questions in.
And I'll say, who asked that?
I know. But some of you, I happen to know in the audience, aren't shrinking violet. So if you've got your best pajamas on today and fancy having a moment in the sun, just post the word question and nothing else, and I will call on you and you can ask Johnny and Joanna. Okay, guys, let's launch in. I have got some very interesting questions. And one of them, the very first question that came in was, hold on one second. I would think you could ask Johnny at what point he feels an obligation to tell someone that they're just not suited for this profession. And this would go for Joanna as well, because you're both coaching, so you both probably run into this. And the person goes on to say, coaching costs so much money, and I wonder how many people spend too much money on something that they will never succeed at for whatever reason. I have lots of strong feelings about that one. I'm interested in what you're...
It's a dicey question, and I think it's difficult for anybody to tell someone else that, hey, you don't have it and you should stick with that job in insurance. Because we never really know when it might hit. Like, when you're in an acting class and like the first, then 6-7 weeks, you kind of suck and you're not getting anywhere. And all of a sudden one night, the light shines and you have that moment. And we say, oh, that's what it says. And all of a sudden, you can do it. I think for every person, there is somewhere along their training that moment. But if that moment is 15 years in, I think sometimes the reason that audiobooks do so well, so many people have home studios, but it doesn't mean having the equipment makes you any better at narrating an audiobook.
Right.
I find it difficult to tell someone you don't have it. However, if they don't speak the language well, if they can't read well, if they can't share a story well, I think we need to talk about that. And I'll say, listen, this is what I charge. I'm going to be honest. I'm not certain that you should be spending the money right now. I think what I tend to say is I think what you should do perhaps is get into an improv workshop or a scene study or direct them somewhere where they'll get some of the basic stuff they're missing. I find it, I've never told anyone no, just no. But some people I've certainly steered away. And some people, if you ask the right questions, will steer themselves away. I've often told the story about the guy who came to me he came into the studio when I was working at an ed studio at the time, I don't get to vet anybody, so here comes this fella, and basically he wanted to learn not to be an actor because he figured it was the way to meet chicks, plain and simple. That was what he said. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I said, that's certainly why I got.
I've got nothing to say to that.
I'm just to say it. I'm thinking, and then I said, well, there's a lot more involved. You have to share things and open up. He goes, well, I don't want to do that. And he said those things. I said, well, maybe this isn't for you. And my subtext was, you dick. But I didn't say that. But I did try to steer him away. And Joanne, you probably met with people.
Yeah, I'm trying. I try to have more of a velvet glove approach. If someone has been with me, like say 4 sessions, and they're not good at direction, so even when I've given them kind of hints and stuff like that, they don't seem to absorb it. I tell them not to see me for at least a month. I give them homework and I tell them, go work on this, this, and this, and then come back in a month and we'll see what's happened. Because I said, I think these weeklies you're not absorbing enough of what we're talking about, and I don't want to waste your money. So save your money for the next month, do this homework, and when you feel confident that you can do A, B, C, and D, we'll have another session. I did once, and I really meant it, tell someone that I thought maybe I wasn't the right coach for them because they just didn't seem to get what I was saying. And they started to get upset. I said, no, I'm not saying you can't do this. I'm saying you may need a coach who does that, and that, and I don't do that.
And I try to supply the names of potentially those coaches.
I did too. I said, you could try this person, that person, I'll call them for you. I said, it's not that I'm saying you can't do this. I'm saying that we don't seem to be making any progress, the two of us, and I don't want you spending a lot of money. And I told them to go away and think about it. And they did, and they came back and they were brilliant in a month. Like in the sense that everything that I had mentioned, they absorbed, but they weren't absorbing it, seeing me every week. Because I think there's a tendency when someone sees you a lot to kind of become your friend and chit chat, and they're not really listening. They just
I'm
like
that
me.
girl. It's me.
You know, they just like me.
You give it an hour and a half of it's about
I'm dealing with
their
an
day.
author right now who's wonderful. She's not a narrator, but she's been a public speaker, and she's just absolutely wonderful. And she's doing her own book, and she booked 3 sessions. And I said, after the first session, you really don't. You've got it. But she wanted 3 sessions. And we were already saying yesterday, we're going to miss each other because we became friends doing this. So you've got to, there's a lot of things to put into the equation when you decide whether you have to try to tell a student, I'm not the person for you. But I don't think I've ever said to anyone, you can't do this.
Yeah.
But it's not easy, is it? Right? So if they don't have a lot of money, I can't see them being able to afford coaching for long if they suck. And if they got that much money, let them spend it.
The money question is bizarre because everybody charges what they charge. If someone says my rates are too high, then I simply say, well, then study with someone whose rates are lower.
Yeah.
To be honest, I make less money coaching than I do narrating.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna. I mean, on the other hand, if you're gonna do like a 6 weeks with me, I'll make. I'm not trying to get rich off people. I'm trying to make it worth my while to spend the time to share. Like Joanna and I run these workshops all the time. We give discounts and take. It's more important for us, as long as we cover our fees to get to a place, that the people can attend and enjoy and learn. Then it is that I can have the steak dinner. I can eat spaghetti.
With the voiceover coaches I know, ouch, sorry, I've never met
Your
one.
bird bit you.
Your bird.
Bit by your budgie.
I've never met an audiobook coach. Maybe I just haven't seen any of the bad ones, but I've never gone to an audiobook coach that wasn't about the relationship first and listening to what I needed. Even when I had that session with Johnny, I thought I booked it when I booked it. And then at the time I thought, oh gosh, I'm like so scattered. The thought of reading to someone right now and having them give me constructive feedback is the last thing I kind of want to do. But you swerved and dealt with what I was scattered about and gave me advice, which wasn't what I expected, but was exactly what I needed. Right. And I think maybe you hear about horrible coaches that are just out to get your money, but a lot of that's in voiceover. I've not seen a lot of that in audiobooks.
I've not encountered it at all in the audiobook world. And I think the job of the coach is to be really, really in touch with whoever comes to work with us and try to, because some people don't know what they need. They're not sure what they want. I need to find a way, and Joanna needs to find a way to reach them and see what it is they actually need, because sometimes they can't articulate what it is they're missing, what it is they need to do, or why even they want to spend an hour with you. Yeah. So you need to find it out quickly and head right to it. And I think most of the really good coaches I know in this industry, and there's quite a few, are really good at that. It's just it's not taught. It's just you can or you can't.
That's my biggest pet peeve. Narrators join the business. They don't know any better. So they start signing up for coaches of all the friends that they see or look like they're getting the books that they're not getting. And they're like just showing up like lemmings, like open vessels, right? Give me success now, I've paid you. And it's like, don't go to a coach unless you have a reason and something to ask them. And look, why would you pay someone to have a conversation if you don't expect to put anything into it?
Because some people are professional students in every world,
No,
every
that's
walk.
true.
It's they feel they're meeting their goals by learning about what it is they want to
Yeah.
do. They don't really want to do it, but learning about it for them is doing it.
Well, they may really want to do it, but I think they're afraid to do it. So they keep dipping their toes in by taking coaching and workshops and stuff, but they never actually go the extra whatever to try getting work or try recording or trying to turn it into a business. It's kind of years ago, AFTRA was a union anybody could join before it was a member of SAG. I can't tell you how many actors I knew who said, I joined AFTRA because they thought that made them sound professional. What they didn't know was, and I used to do a little casting, casting people in the background and going, well, anybody and their mother can join AFTRA. You don't have to be an actor. It was kind of like, it didn't mean anything, but they thought it meant something.
It's like putting an Exxon Mobil sticker on your automobile thinking it makes it go faster. Yeah, it just doesn't work.
But it's the difference. This is my big thing. People are sick of hearing me talk about it now. The difference between being intrinsically motivated and intrinsically motivated and extrinsically motivated. And
easy for you to say.
Chase, yeah, sounds like it. But chasing that like recognition, and this is the badge, and I've got the job, as opposed. Oh, whoops! Ouch! Sorry, somebody tried to join. I accidentally almost blocked them. So the
Lori Kane, I love Lori Kane.
Yeah, I know. It's like, sorry, Lori. I hope you made it. But yeah, the difference between they've got to have something about you, right? You've got to like manage your own career. And like know where you're going to go next and why you're doing it. And okay, I've got another question. Lisa Ware says that we can use her name, but it is legit asking for a friend. Tell us about directed sessions and what it's like. We know there are different flavors of directed session, so whatever y'all have will be helpful, I'm sure. Did I sound like Lisa there?
Exactly. I thought it was her for a moment. Yeah. In a directed sessions, when I started in this industry, it was all directed sessions. Now, sometimes that meant, sometimes there's a director and sometimes there's an engineer. Sometimes the engineer is supposed to be directorial, but they may not have any theatrical or acting background. They simply know that
they simply follow the script.
Yeah.
They're not Paul Rubin.
So now I'll tell you about Paul Rubin, because it depends who you work with. In a directed session with a director, generally, if they're going to spend that much money, generally it's a larger publishing house, like Penguin Random House. When I work for them, they almost always have. Even when I'm here, I can walk to their offices from here, but in my home studio, there's a director there. Because it's Penguin Random House, I frequently ask for Paul Rubin because he's one of my best friends. So it's interesting to work together. When they're there, their job, hopefully you've been cast for a role you can play. Or a story you can tell. So it's not like working in theater where you and the director discuss the role, what the author means, and that discussion doesn't happen. Generally, you start. And hopefully you're on the same page. And if they realize that your take on the material isn't quite theirs, and you discuss it. If you trust your director, and you really should, at least initially, there can be acting discussions, acting choices. For the most part, they're there to help you when you're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's that extra set of ears, because one of the things is there's an expectation that all of us as audiobook narrators are consummately wonderful actors and can just do this. And there we are in our little studio trying to tell a story, and we hope like hell we're doing a good job, but there's nobody to bounce it off. So immediately the idea of having a director is wonderful because there's that extra set of ears. Paul, I don't know if you ever worked with Paul Rubin, but he and I approach scripts and approach the audiobook narration very similarly. So there's not much to discuss about that, but we just did a book about Patton that's coming out this week.
About what?
Patton, George Patton. General Patton.
I thought you said patents, like.
Oh, no.
I was like,
General
really
George
exciting.
Patton, who had a patent on being an asshole. So it was a fascinating character, and we had some discussions about the book. And to be honest, when we were done, we were both not sure if we did a bang-up job because we had some difference of opinion on some things. And then it turns out that author has another book, and he wanted both of us to come back. We're going to start it in June. So we ended up doing okay. But with the director, what it is, here's first off, technically it's different. Hanging around a mouse, a punch record where we, stop, you don't do that. With Pengarana Mouse, it's open roll, which is hard to get used to because we're used to stopping it. So the thing just goes. So you hear me say, hey, Joanna, get me a can of soda, and it's there.
Yeah, everything's on.
And so everything you do, you don't stop it, but sometimes you accidentally stop it. So that's one thing. So technically it's different.
So if you curse like a fireman.
If it's a directed session, used to punch and roll. Do you not like I'll be having an argument with my husband, and sometimes I'll think, oh, I'll just back that up a bit and not say that. But you get so used to punch and roll.
Oh yeah. It's you get used to it, and so it's just getting used to doing it their way. But having a director or having another set of ears, and I'd recommend if you're having a hard time with a particular book, hire Joanna, hire somebody to work the first chapter with you, get you started.
Yeah, Carol.
Because the idea, just to get you going, because once you have it, all of us, every single one of us begins a book. Here we are, we're talking. Here's me, here's you, here's Joanna. Right here, we're just talking. And all of a sudden, chapter 1, and all of a sudden, who's that guy? And we're always that guy to begin, and we need to make sure that we're not, so that by chapter 2 and 3, that we can't suddenly find out how to do it in the third chapter.
Yeah.
I did a book. I did a wonderful book with David Rapkin was the director, and I did the first chapter. We talked about it. And he said, and I really wasn't hitting the notes. I wasn't where we needed to be to tell this really beautiful story. So we redid chapter 1. It's the first time anyone ever asked me to redo a chapter. And I said, and I happily did it because I'm telling you, once we had our discussion, actor-director discussion, I trusted him. He trusted me. We shared. We thought. I redid chapter 1. That chapter was much better, and the book was significantly better. If you're going to have a director, you, the actor, need to trust. If the director sucks, then be wary. But generally, they don't.
They generally don't. I was going to say though, I was looking into directing audiobooks, and I decided it wouldn't be for me, and it was because I spoke to a few friends who are doing it. And a lot of these books are in such a short deadline that even with the directors are kind of being turned into
engineers.
They a secretary, is that the word I'm looking for? They listen, they're telling you made a mistake, but they also have to keep track of stuff, like literal track of stuff. So by the time they go, oh, Joanna didn't hit that note, you're already 2 sentences away. And they said they've been finding it difficult to actually do any directing. They just feel like another set of ears that they can say, okay, that was a mistake, because the engineer is not doing anything but doing the engineering.
Yeah.
So you don't
it's
always
like having the proofer in the room while you're recording.
Yeah,
you don't always get Paul Rubin, or a really good. So you've got to go into that session. If you think you're going to get some kind of a great session because of a director, still do your preparation. Make sure that you can do it, because they may be doing nothing more than being stuck taking notes and making sure that everybody knows what the right take is when the engineer gets the actual docket. But sometimes there's precious little time for them to direct much. So you still have to go in pretty prepared.
The end story is wonderful to have.
It's wonderful to have them. Yes, still a set of ears.
You know what Johnny said about the beginning of the book and everything, and that made me realize, because I had such a hard time with every single book on my schedule, because my first day, I never got more than half of what I was supposed to get done. And then I'm frantic. So now I just plan it in, and I make my first day of the book half of it. I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm worried about getting it right. I've planned, but that first day is brutal to me. It's like I'm like introducing myself to like my boyfriend's parents, and I don't think they're going to like me. It's just
you need to reconsider how you approach your first day, and also how you approach your workflow. We've had this chat.
Yeah,
you really do. Yeah. Everybody's first day is their first day. But the listener only knows it's chapter 1 and then chapter 2. If your workflow says, I'm going to get the first 7 chapters done today, I don't understand that.
That's what it used to be. But now I just make my first day an easy day. I only plan to do half of what I normally do on my first day of the book. And then
why don't you just plan to be in there X number of hours with your breaks on the hour? I think everybody should be let's say you want to be in there 3 hours. And I think everybody needs to take a 10-minute break every hour. You got to get out. So you're in there 3 hours. If you do 4 chapters, that's what you did. You know what I mean? I think if you set up hitting this number of chapters, then you're straining just to hit some number that you made up. It's not a marathon.
Yeah.
You know, I can do a marathon. Just give me a few weeks to run a mile a day. 26 days, and I've got my marathon done. I just think that if you sit down and say, I'm going to do 12 chapters, I don't know if I can do 12 chapters. What if the dogs are barking? What if I'm just not into it and I want to watch TV?
What if your sewer blows up?
Yes, well, 1,000. I think a lot of people have workflow issues that they've really got to the thing with this job is it's a job and a business.
Yeah.
It's creative arts too. And you've got to find a way to marry those two things so that your life is going to be wonderful. If this is as hard and as difficult and as unpleasant as punching a time clock and sitting in a cubicle, this is not for you.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think I have listened. I do take on advice. And what I've done is I've taken your advice about that, and also Shannon Parker when she said that her booth is her sanctuary. So what I've done is kind of that. I'm still so type A that it's like hard to change that, but I give myself a certain window of hours and I go in and I do the work. So I do the worrying and the timekeeping beforehand when I commit to the job and do the schedule. Then once I'm in the booth, I've turned it off. I used to check every few pages how many minutes I had left of that day's work.
Lord.
And it used to drive me crazy because then I used to, but I haven't done that in a long time.
Good. Don't do that ever again. Stop that now.
I do have another question. This one somebody asked me, so I'm supposed to interpret. I hope I remember correctly what they said. If you're doing, I think it was they said romance, and they have each chapter, one chapter is from the girl's perspective, the second chapter is from the man's perspective. But if the publisher has told them to do a subtle accent only when necessary, when it's like clear, like they're like in the South, or I don't know where it was in this book. So say the first chapter is from the female's perspective, and then she moves into her dialogue where she has a slight accent. Does she do the narration from the female's perspective with the accent, or does she do the narration as the narrator? I know that you give the narration a tone of the character, but what if an accent is involved? Because I know romances they always give them accents.
Is the female part when it comes up, isn't the same person saying these sentences? It's the same narrator, isn't it?
It's the same narrator, but the dialect is when she talks to the guy, but the narrator, when she's narrating, she's in her thoughts.
The female has to do the male's accent, you mean, and vice versa?
Well, no. Okay. So chapter 1, I hope I might be getting her question completely mangled.
Chapter we'll answer it wrong then.
Allie moved across such and such. She didn't know what she was going to do. She wasn't sure about this or that, but she thought Blake liked her. And then Blake walks in the room. What are you doing, Blake? And so what are you doing, Blake? Sounds like my budgie, meant to be a Southern accent. And then back into narration. Allie doesn't understand why Blake always does this. Is the narrator voice also going to have the Southern accent when the publisher has said, be subtle and don't overdo the accents, or just the parts where she's talking to Blake?
Go ahead. I want to see if I understand.
If I understand you correctly, the narrator is third person omniscient.
Yeah.
So there is no accent to character voice.
That's why I was trying to say.
Good.
If it's,
Okay.
If that's what it is, if you're discussing the idea where all of us in this room are doing a multicast book, and Joel has the first lines, and Joel sets up the character Brian. That's his character.
Yeah, no, but the narrator isn't third person omniscient, I don't think. I think the narrator is in the voice of the female, but just not.
No, then no. There's no accent.
well,
Wait.
that would be different.
Unless it's first person.
Okay.
They make a difference.
If it's third person, where the person is saying,
Simone had a horrible day. She got out of bed, and of course the phone rang, and she saw that it was her ex, Bo.
That's
And then
what I'm
she
trying to
answers the
say.
phone, and she goes, "What the hell you want, Bo?" or whatever.
That's it.
That's what then there is a separate narrator talking who's describing everything. It's not the one I just did that John's talking about was I'm talking as me. I'm speaking as me. I said, I don't know why I pick these men. I always pick these crazy men, blah, blah, blah. So I was speaking as me. So any accents I would have given. But if someone else is describing, if there is an omniscient narrator describing the story, it would be like if you're doing literature. If you're doing a story of somebody who lives in the South, you would describe the whole story. And as characters come in, you would give them whatever their character voices are. So if the narrator is just telling us the story and then these characters come in, the narrator doesn't have to have the accent, just the characters.
Okay, and Lori said nobody thinks in an accent anyway, and that makes sense. And right as I'm saying this, I have a horrible feeling I completely mangled her question. That wasn't even what she was asking. But hopefully we answered it for you.
Here's the question. Maybe she is speaking in the first person.
And she has an accent, in which case she would have to keep, in other words, if I'm the one talking and I'm saying
it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Best of times, it was the worst of times. And then I met him. He was an asshole. I mean, so you know what I mean? Then it's different. Then it would be different. Then she would do the whole voice the whole time, whatever her choice is. But if someone else is speaking and describing what's happening and then the characters pop in, the characters are the ones.
There's very few hard and fast rules. I mean, you say this is always this way, then you find out it isn't. Because these are creative arts. An artist is not stuck to paint within the lines. A writer isn't either. So you have to determine what the author wants. And that's because the author's your God in this case.
I love that. Okay. I've got so many questions. I'm panicking now.
Okay, we'll answer quicker. Yes.
Okay.
No.
Based on your experience, what are the best ways to ask for more work? And on the flip side, how to turn down work without falling off a pub's radar?
I just, I read a blog called For the Hell of It. I try to do it every month, but I don't always. It's also on YouTube because it's funnier. But I did something about this. Here's the deal. To get on their radar, there's a million different ways, and this call would take forever. But one thing you can do is, I've always said, you have to be an answer to their problem, not another problem. So you don't, if Lori Kane publisher, so I'm not going to say Lori and send her a note every week. That's absurd. But I may say, Lori, I heard about you from my friend, Anna Perrin. She suggested I send you a note. Here's a link to my website. I'd love a chance to work for you. By the way, I loved what you guys did with A Long Day's Journey Tonight, or whatever, something they just did. Say something. Or Lori, congratulations. I heard you just got back from France. We were there for our honeymoon. It was great. Anyway, so just they're people too, They know that when you get hold of them, you want work. So one way to stay on the radar is, as I've said 1,000 times, don't be a dick. Try and understand what they want and be what they want. They know, Lori knows when I email her that I want work. What I like to do, and I know them personally more than some others, but I'll say, listen, I just sent a note today. I said, listen, I'm really booked up. I open up at the end of June, I start having work. I'm available for you if you have anything. I try and give them a heads up. If I'm not available, if they send me a book, I'll say, you know what? Here's what I always say if I'm already booked and I want more, I just say, that deadline, is it in stone or do we have any leeway on it? The reason I ask, I'm really interested in doing the book, but I have another book or 2 projects due then. I might be able to fit it in. Is there leeway? Then it's up to them. Yes, we have 2 more weeks. We can change it, or no, we really can't. And then if I can rearrange things because I want the book, I will, or I'll say, I'm really sorry. I appreciate the opportunity. I can't do it. No publisher is upset with that. You've made their job simple. You've said, I can't because, and also, as we've all known, when we're trying to look for work, it's easier to get work when you're already working. If you have no job, go find a job. It's brutal. If you're already hired, if you already have a job and you take time off from your job to get a better job, you'll get the other job. So if a publisher knows that somebody else has already trusted you with work, that makes you more. They want you more. So saying no, there's a great power in saying no, and not enough actors do it. We're so hungry for work. Yeah. Hey, you guys, I've got a garage. Let's put on a play. I'm going to charge each $50 and you can be my musical. Come on. That's not what life is. You can say no. If someone says, Johnny, I need you to do a book. It's got to be in next week. I'm teaching in Florida next week. I have to say no. So ask. Ask if there's leeway, and if there is, use it. But if you can't, you say no. Never say yes when you know the answer is no. Then you'll be blackballed.
Yeah.
Never, never, never. Don't say you can do things you can't. Just don't. You'll be on their shit list, and every other publisher will hear from every other publisher.
Yeah, that's good.
Or you'll make yourself sick trying to get it done. You might make
You won't get it done,
time,
and you say yes, and you rush it, and you suck.
yeah, that's
not a
another
good
point.
call. Just be honest. I can't do it. Let Barbara Hensley do it, and then she says thanks. And if you recommend somebody who's good, they appreciate that. So, I can't. You might try. Just suggesting. There's nothing wrong with that. This group, this world. If you're good to other people, karma comes back. It does. Good karma is so important, and helping your fellow actor. I don't know Jonathan, but let's say I found out he's got the perfect voice for someone. So, I'll be honest, I don't think I'm right for this. I can't tell you how many books I've gotten the publishers don't even read. They go, oh, it's a history book. Oh, it's a mystery. Let Johnny do it. And it's a female protagonist. I said, that's not for me. And I recommend generally Joanna, because I know her well. But there are other people. And I just think it's the publisher has a book and they want to give it to somebody and then forget about it until it's time to get it back.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't be a problem.
I mean, it's understandable. They can't possibly read every book they have to cast. It's impossible.
Yeah, book jackets is about it.
Yeah, book jackets, read the blurb.
And I noticed that I had a tendency to do that in the beginning. I quit it very quickly when I figured it out, that I thought that, like, if something was going to go wrong, if I explained, if I could make them understand just how sorry I was, how hard I was trying, how much I was doing, then they would understand, and they'd but the thing is, you're wasting their time.
They don't
Just
care.
be professional and tell them. This was when I was working with indie writers, when I first started on ACX, and it was pages of explanations. If I, questions about the accent would go on for 6 pages, so they would know how earnest I was.
I overcame lumbago only to be struck down by leprosy. I'll get your book in a week. It's
Yeah, now I'm 5 lines, try to keep it to 5 lines. Okay, I got another question. I currently am being coached by a fab coach, and I'm very happy with him, although he can be challenging at times. However, do you know of narrators that have more than one coach, and do you think that would be useful? I guess it depends on the narrator's needs.
more than one coach at a
Oh,
time.
Yeah, do you have to be monogamous, or?
I would, just because for me, no, I think you can go to several coaches. You mean at the same time, studying at the same time? I think it'd be confusing because, I tend to, I'm tactical. So I find out what your problem is and I go in, I try to solve it and I work with you. But I have an acting background and that shows up, and I'm teaching you acting while I'm teaching, if you didn't know, if you weren't an actor to begin with. Other coaches aren't that way. So I would think if you went to me and then went to somebody who's completely different from that, it would be confusing. Now, if you're saying maybe going to one coach for fiction and another coach for nonfiction, I could see that happening.
But if you really like Joel has a 8 or 9 week program. Joel Frumkin, Sean Pratt has a 14 session thing once a month.
Yeah.
So and Sean is doing specifically nonfiction.
Yes.
So let's say you're doing nonfiction and you're following his course, and this current thing you're on may not be the current problem you're having with your fiction piece that you're doing. So you call on Johnny or Joe or something, you call on us. So yeah, I could see where you'd want to call somebody else for help. And the difference is that those long-term things, those like Sean and Joel do, are strategic acting. And so it's over a period of time and you grow. Joanna and I, or she said tactical, where we deal with an issue you bring to us. I'm having a problem with this scene. I want to play this. I want this. So it's a little different. So yeah, you can't.
I'm not kidding, Johnny. Seriously, if you ever get bored of, lose your voice or something, not that we ever want that to happen, but you could be like Dear Johnny. Seriously, people could say, oh, I've had a horrible relationship, can send you letters, and you would fix them. I was literally in the course of an hour, you solved 30 things in my life. I was a bit embarrassed. Shit.
Yes, a hell of a life coach. If only I knew what that was.
Yeah. I think you do more than you think. Okay, so I've got more questions. Okay, how to express to a person that their finished work is simply not good enough to be, this is kind of like the question we asked before, but I think it's a little different, is simply not good enough to be competitive with other narrators vying for the same jobs, especially at union rates and above, and especially when as a group we're trying to normalize union rates in the industry. Oh, I don't understand.
I think I understand. The idea is, how do you tell someone who's simply not up to snuff that isn't working, and they want, let's say people want to make a demo sometimes. A demo has to demonstrate to talent buyers that this is the best you are. This is you at your best at this given moment. Your demo that you made in 1975 is probably not as good as it will be in 1995, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But if you work, you can work with me for weeks and you could still suck. If you suck, you're not going to get to work. So one of the things I tell people, I said, look, you're going to make a demo. You're going to go out there. You're going to try and get work. I want you to know you're competing with me. You're competing with Sean Prey. You're competing with Scott Brick. You don't think about it, but you're competing with all those people all the time. I audition. Joanna auditions. I get turned down. Joanna gets turned down. All that happens. It's part of the actor's job. Now, nobody bats 1,000. It just doesn't happen. If you're not competitive, I say, listen, here's a problem. You rush your words together. You're not intelligible. You're not playing characters differently. You're rushing to the good, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I said, I don't believe you can compete right now. If you want to spend money on a demo, first off, I said, I'm not going to make it because I don't think you're ready, and I'm simply not going to.
I don't want my name attached to it.
Well, I know you're not want my name attached. I don't think you're ready. I don't want you to spend $1,200 or commercial demos, 15, whatever the hell it is. I don't want you to spend that money. Don't spend that money. Save that money and keep taking acting courses.
Yeah.
I tell them, if you're not competitive, you're not competitive. And the people who are wretched and get a job, two things happen. One is they've turned off whoever the audiobook listener is. And that person may never come back to the wonderful world of audiobooks. They probably will, but they'll have a bad feeling. Second thing is, not going to get a second job from that same person who hired them. They won't. And in this business, which is not commercial, therefore not residual based, you get paid per finished hour generally. So you're only as good as the book you're working on. So if I work for Penguin Random House, and then they never hire me again, well, I'm really not working very well, am I? Because I got that one gig and blew it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why in demos, and you have one chance to make a first impression. Anytime, anywhere, any place. One chance. That's your first impression. And while people may change their attitude about you in time, they will never, ever forget their first impression.
Oh, I wish I hadn't sent that email. Okay. I've got a question about that article that came out recently. I'm wondering that it was a long article, right? But there was a part about Americans, and a handful of things can be heard doing, or there aren't uncommon among American audiobook readers. Varying one's pace on arbitrary words or phrases just to be interesting, emphasizing random words and syllables, and acting out the meanings of words. If the word languid appears, you read it slowly, for example. You read a word that denotes hostility in a way that sounds angry. But the criticism is that deadpan is about suppression. Serious American acting has traditionally been about letting it all hang out. And I like to consider myself intelligent, but I have a hard time in my mind marrying. I understand the key is being in the moment and respecting the text. And if you're acting the text, you're not going to go wrong. But in my mind, I feel like in acting, we're told to feel it, the method, and you feel it and you be there. But from what I read from that article, and the whole be deadpan, don't feel it because you're telling us what to feel by you feeling it. You're taking over the script. You should disappear as a narrator is basically what they said. And it's hard because I understand all those concepts, but I don't really understand what they want us to do. Not act.
I know of the article. I know of its existence. I haven't read it. the idea to put down an entire nation's actors.
All American narrators get it
it's a
wrong.
wee bit questionable.
Who wrote the
Yeah.
article?
Hey, I see Colin with his hand up. Do you want to say something?
It was, and I mean, to be fair, there were some good points in it. Do you know what I mean? It was somebody named, but some of-
Colin may know. He had his hand up. Colin did.
Yeah. I'm an actor, and I've been an actor for more years than most of you have been alive. I once did a workshop with a wonderful actress in UK actress called Prunella Scales, whom I don't know if you know.
yes.
If you ever watched Fawlty Towers, she
Oh, yes.
was,
I know who it is.
yeah. And she says something which I've never forgotten, which is absolutely wonderful. Never color a color word.
Well, you're
If
talking about the word language.
word- Yeah, if you take, for example, the word languid, which is extremely colorful as a word, if you then color it, you gild the lily.
Yes, yeah. I think
the
in
word
reference-
itself has the power. You
Yeah.
don't need to color it.
I
an
think in
actor.
reference to the article, though, I think it's very very broad, and it's difficult to say such a thing.
Mimi
If-
Kramer
if-
was the name.
If somebody said something, please, sit down, she said languidly. Well, she said, that what she said could be said languidly, but you don't need to say languidly.
Yeah,
And I'm not certain that pointing out the entire generations of American actors who are so bad that we've only run the entertainment industry for thousands of years. I'm not sure that's accurate, and I'm not sure that I didn't read the article, so it's not fair for me to comment, but it sounds like bullshit.
But again, who was it who wrote the article?
Mimi Kramer, I don't know who she is.
And how do we know about it? on
It's all
Facebook?
over. It's on Facebook. I mean,
Yeah,
the
it's
thing
all over.
is,
But,
here's the
I mean,
act-
to take that example, Johnny, I mean, imagine you're listening to the book and sit down and have a glass. She said languidly.
Yeah, no one should do that. There's no question. Yeah, that's
Awful. Yeah.
But I don't believe the American actors or the British or the Spanish or the African or the Nairobian or anybody are necessarily doing that.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone do that.
Well,
Now,
I'm sure someone ran.
on the other hand, everybody makes choices. My choices have to be based on what the author wrote. Joanna's choices based on what the author wrote. Are they going to be different? Are our methods different? I'm trained in Stanislavski. You may be trained in Shurtleff. You may be trained in Meisner. Whatever it is, whatever gets you to share the author's truth is what you want to do. I'm pretty sure that no one who feels that way, and that's how actors always feel, thinks that saying languidly in taking half an hour to say the word is going to help us get anywhere. And I haven't read the article, so it's really unfair to comment. But what you're saying, it sounds like would get me riled up.
Yeah, I did. I read it. I did feel it. Part of me wonders if it's also not how we approach the script, but also who we are. And I know that Americans over here, that we can be off-putting to people because we're a lot. And when I first moved here, I spent a lot
As
of
opposed
time
to the
thinking,
subtle British comedy we see so often.
but the way they interact with people and the way they express things, like I know myself as a person, having a handyman come is like, oh my God, you will not believe the week I've had. Whereas over here, having a handyman come is just having a handyman come. It's like nothing. So it's like the way we experience the world. I don't think you can kind of. So, but I've got a big fear of, I don't want to overact, because you learn in theater, don't overact. So when somebody writes an article about that, I sit and go,
You can't play the negatives though. You can't play don't. You can only play do. Your
Oh,
choice
I
can
love
never be
that.
not to. You can only do. And if you've overdone, then you're not doing it right. I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, I mean, don't overact is like saying don't act poorly. Well, sure, you shouldn't act poorly. No one sets on to the stage or into the booth and says, let me see if I can do a shitty job on this. No
I
one
really
ever
love
begins
that.
that way.
I really love that. I've never heard that before. I really love that.
Well, it's yours. Take it away.
I really love that. That's a good one. Okay, there is a question here. Do you do your own editing? And if so, which software do you use? But that's, I'll let you guys.
You want me to do this?
See, I don't know any about that.
Oh, no, generally we don't. I was using Pro Tools. Johnny's using Studio One for 2 years now, maybe.
I think so.
But as of about a month ago, I'm also on Studio One because I had my last battle with Pro Tools and couldn't take it anymore. And I had an engineer give me a separate template that's mine, and one Johnny has.
Don Barnes.
Don Barnes. But I don't do my own editing at all. I usually work for publishers who are, they just want the raw audio and they do what they
If
do.
you work for publishing houses, they generally have someone on.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you're working with an indie author or ACX or something, your job becomes not the actor so much as the producer. So you're producing a finished piece. So it has to get edited and mastered. Well, look, I think you should include in your rate enough money to cover letting someone who's skilled at that do that.
Yeah, if that's what,
If the industry average is 2 to 1 to record, 2 hours in the booth for one finished hour, if that's the mean, the average. Well, then if you add editing and mastering and all that, now it's 6 to 1 or 7 to 1, and financially you come up against the law of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Didn't think I'd bring Marx into this, did you?
No, I didn't think
that,
Marx would show up,
there he
but
is.
he
So,
did.
so what you're doing, you want to have someone else. Also, it's a skill set. Editing, that's an art form. I don't pretend to know how to do
Yeah, I know
that.
how to do that.
I think you should give it to people who are good at it, and also you'll make more money just narrating.
Yeah, you won't have to worry. Just stop, go,
just send it to
stop,
people
go.
who are good.
Do your
Let them
thing.
do it, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah.
That's what I think. So I don't. Also, I don't want to do that. I like acting. I don't like. And also, you can't proof yourself anyway.
Yeah, it's
Somebody has
about-
to proof you. You can't proof yourself.
Yeah,
If
when
you
I
say,
was new, I learned how to edit. I spent a fortune. I got all the classes. I went to the studio. I learned the hard way, stayed up late at night, did my own edit. First few books I handed
Yeah.
somebody. Then I learned, did my own editing. But every single time I still had to pay for a proofer because
Yeah.
I couldn't proof my own stuff. I'm
you
glad
say-
I
you-
learned
you
to
don't-
do
yeah.
it, but I'm glad I don't do it anymore.
You don't say a word incorrectly because you know you're saying it incorrectly.
Yeah.
It's integral or integral. One of those is right. If you don't know which one, have someone else proof.
And most of us read when we were kids, taught ourselves a lot of words and sometimes incorrectly.
Oh, no
You
one,
know.
no one corrected us. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so another question. Is it better to be, I've heard you answer this one. Is it better to be a jack of all genres or specialize in a particular genre? Does being known for a particular genre in effect get you typecast for that genre?
Take it.
I'll take it. Me take it.
I'll jump in. Well said.
Okay, so I'm known for nonfiction. Okay. Can I do other stuff? Yeah, I just did a romance. We just did a mystery, 4 or 5 of us together about 2 months ago. I do some fiction, but most publishers immediately say, "Oh, I have something for you." And as I wait with bated breath and open the email, it's always a history, a biography, a memoir, how-to. I'm known for it. And here's the flip side. It keeps me working. So how much complaining can I do? I would like to be known for everything, but because I started off in university press, publishers pick me up from there and think, "Oh, she can do this." And, it's easier for them. They don't have to think about it. They know I can do it. I can do the research. I can say the words and I can make it natural. So that's what they seem to give me. If I want something else, I have to specifically say, "Please make something more fun next time because this one I'm blowing my brains out." And then hopefully, yes, they'll show up with something. But so I guess I'm typecast, but at least I work and it's better than not working. And
As this business marches forward, things are changing, and now people tend to brand themselves more and more.
Yes.
And it's helpful to know, I'll use Lori again, that Lori does Christian romance. It's helpful to know that's what she likes. Okay, so is that all she can do? Well, I think once you've established yourself as pretty good in this genre, then you want to put some demos on your site in other things that you may like. Now Lori has science fiction and I don't know, medical how-to or some whatever she wants. And then that gives her a chance to reach out to the publisher she's been working with. Said, you know what? I'd really like to do some cozy mysteries. I have a demo of it on my site I just did. I'm very proud of it. That's how you expand that brand. I've not been branded. I do everything because that's what I like. And also because I started differently than is available to people now, because I started so long ago, it's different. So I'm not known for a thing except for noir kind of stuff. I do a lot of that. But other than that, I do everything. And I like that. I personally would feel uncomfortable if all I did was science fiction, you know. But if that's what you like and you start that way, there's nothing wrong. But eventually you then tell your publishers, because there's no publisher who does just science fiction.
Yeah, they're going to give you other stuff, aren't they? Because I had. Sorry, I keep interrupting. I just get so excited about the conversation. They're going to give you other stuff because, like, I think it's fair to say that I've branded myself, right? And I recently got a book, and I was like, normally I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll do the audition and pass them. And they said I got it. I was like, oh my God. And they were like, yeah, when I heard axe in the first few lines, I thought of you because it's an axe murderer. And I was like, so flattered.
But it's a good brand to have.
Yeah, but I still get people wanting me to do religion and romance and things.
Yeah.
I don't think
you're not going to lose
work.
You won't lose your brand, but you can expand. I think you need to expand because as an actor, you need to take other roles, you know?
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch had to play an American cowboy. Doctor Strange is not enough. You know, you've got to expand your horizons.
Yeah, do what sounds like fun and be open, I think, for it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't turn down different genres if they're interesting, try them.
You should only turn down things that you don't have time to do or don't want to do for any number of reasons.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like certain erotica, some people say, I won't do this, I won't do that. That's fine. You know, there are certain things you just don't want to do.
You won't do dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Yeah. No dinosaur sex. That's right out.
Okay, so the question that comes up all the time, but somebody did ask it, to be fair enough, and I know that you said it's an important question. And actually, there's two sides to this one. Somebody asked in a conversation, and then they sent it in writing, double-sided, because who we show up as in the industry, you know, we all think that affects, like, I think they see a Johnny Hell or a Joanna Perrin and they just assume that you guys, like, you know, open your window and golden books fly in while you're having your morning coffee every day. And that's just because you've created these personas. That's
exactly what happens.
That was this morning.
That's the image that we all have.
It's raining books.
Wouldn't that be the life, though? You know,
if
I were to write a fairy tale, but I think it's all part of the same thing. The two questions they asked could go together. The first question they asked was, do you think that the Splendiferous Workshop and the Johnny Heller retreats and the name you've built up doing these other things and the coaching that you both do, do you think that that has made a significant, impactful, but don't stop me because there's another side to the question, impactful difference in actual amount of money and jobs booked? Or is it just like a thing on the periphery helping with the brand? And do you think the brand makes a significant difference in this person's on the call and they're going, wait a minute, that is not exactly what I was asking. Then the other thing is Johnny has had very clear political opinions, and I've heard you talk before. And so your persona into the things you don't like could, in the other way, cost you work. So how much do you think all that stuff affects the net impact of your money?
Our personal money, or
how many books you book, your career, like getting more work or not getting as much work as in the case of the political stuff? how much do you think that stuff matters? Because we all like to think what we do in the booth is all that matters, but who we are matters as well. We bring it along with that. So what kind of an impact does that have, and how important it is, and how much should people be working on that stuff early in their career?
Oh, that's a the
Big
question just goes
question.
on. Yes. I think in terms of our workshops, the splendiferous and the retreats and everything, I think we together have created a warm, nurturing, mentoring. It sounds like Up With People without the music, but it's a positive affirmation of the art form. And it's never just Joanna and I. It's Joanna and I and we brought other coaches in. So in terms of money, I know that a lot of coaches have gotten a lot of students from my events. As a matter of fact, the event we do, the New England retreat, other coaches get a lot more students than Joanna and I get. We rarely get called to that.
But not students, audiobooks.
Well, here's audiobooks.
Same thing. Just let me interject. We try to have good publishers at every event. This year we're going to have 4.
Four publishers will be at New England.
And I can tell you for a fact that people get work, not necessarily us, but people who come to our event generally within the first 6 months get books from those publishers.
We're like matchmakers.
We're like matchmakers.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it affects us specifically, because the other side of the coin is we've become friends with these publishers. So, it's hard to say if they give you a book. I don't think it's got anything to do with a splendiferous workshop.
I think when they see us at work and what they do, it's like that helps them want to work with us. So I think it helps us in terms of getting work, because we're doing a mitzvah. Yeah. We're doing a good thing, and people want to be part of that.
You guys do a lot for friendship, don't you? I get that from you guys, that is a big part of the job for you guys, the connections that you have with other people, for both of you.
I think so. It makes it's how I live. Yeah, it's important. And the other half, but in terms of work, I work very consistently. I've done 30 books already this year.
Yeah, he's
I've seen to always be in there. But my time, I'm not at 2 to 1, so I work a little faster than that. And in terms of my politics, I have separate Johnny Heller Facebook page. It's just just the workshops and things, and a separate Twitter thing that does that. On the one that's me, I say what I want to say, and I'm willing to take the slings and arrows that come with it. For a long time before social media blew up, I got tons of conservative right-wing books to do. I mean, a lot. I felt like I was an embedded spy on the other side. They didn't know it. But then once I started speaking out about my leftist, liberal, commie views, I lost some of that work, but I got leftist books
To replace them.
So I didn't take a hit at all. I just don't. I still know what they're thinking. They're thinking about taking everyone's rights and ruining it and being an autocracy. But other than that,
leftists write more frequent books than the right guys. So
you might have missed one book from someone on the right, but you got 4 books from the same guy on the left. So
and also one of the things, if people know, for example, let's say that I'm not to say Boomgast, that can't be right. But let's say he's. I'll use Kim because I can say Kim. Let's say Kim is known to like skydiving. It's one of the things she likes. If you sign up for Ahab or Macmillan or those things, they want to know your habits and your sports and your hobbies. Yeah. So she said, I'm a skydiver. Well, if a book about skydiving comes up, why would I not think of Kim? You know what I mean? If they know, so if a book about politics comes up, that's Heller follows politics pretty closely. I'm going to get those books. So it does, unless the publisher is, let's say, I tend to lean left. Fortunately for me, most publishers tend to lean, not all, but most tend to lean left. So it hasn't negatively impacted me. But the right-wing publishers, both of them, may not want to hire me unless they want a leftist voice. You know what I mean? So it really depends on, if you're going to take a significant stand on social issues on social media, then be prepared for whatever comes your way. I've been working in this business I've done 1,000 books. I'm willing to, I can handle it. If I lose 3 of them, I'm okay. I've got 6 more. That's not true for everybody, and I understand that. And I'm not asking anybody to go to Poland and save the Ukrainians. I'm not asking anybody to do anything. But whatever stance you take, understand social media is not a safe place.
Mm.
And so if you like to have a couple of hits from the crack methane pipe at night and then a few shots of bourbon, don't go on social media. Don't, if you want to write an angry letter to the horrible publishers somewhere, then write, dear Dan Zid, I'm going to write you a mean letter. Well, don't write Dan Zid. Leave it open. Write all the negative things you can possibly want to say. Get it out of your system. Think of it. They say, dear Dan, how you doing? so you're not going to send. So be wary of what you're doing, because everything you say and do will last. Is there, and so just be ready. But I would say for us, our workshops have been a real boon, not just to us, but to the industry. I know that folks Macmillan and Podium and Dion Audio and Blackstone, they found wonderful actors, and they trust us because of that. And I think that's.
I think the key is the intention. Do you see what I'm saying? Because
yes,
you guys aren't just like in there for what you can get. So I think the question becomes kind of irrelevant on that side, because it's not not the reason you're showing up to the gig.
Yeah, we want the work, but it's not about it. It's about everybody else there. Mm-hmm. It really is. And that's as it should be.
And don't you think that when somebody's starting their career in their first year, second year, the sooner you get to the place where your actions stem from, it's about giving back as well, the sooner you, and also the thing about social media, you have to pick your battles, I've found. I mean, I have lost a book because because I don't post things like that, only because I'm not willing to keep up the comment thread. I've got a really short attention span. So if you want to debate the country and the world, I'm busy talking about like food and whatever. And one of my writers kept responding with political things, turning things around. And so I would just delete those posts, because my whole post, I just didn't want to get into it. And I never got another book. But the thing is, I have a feeling that I guess my job is to make myself a really good person for me. And then because it's going to leak out, I've learned I can't hide it. It leaks out anyway. I was in that corporate job wearing glitter and sprinkles. It's going to leak out no matter how much I try. So I'd better make myself happy with it.
Yeah. So what are we saying? To thine own self be true. You are what you are. Don't hide it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then don't apologize about it afterwards.
No, not at all. And you don't have, if you do write something on social media, you don't have to answer people who answer you. People have said horrible things to me. I don't care. I
delete the post because I
had to block them entirely or just ignore them.
That's the thing. That's the thing I love about social media.
I'm not out to change minds. I'm just out to bitch a lot.
There's block and there's snooze. Snooze is even better. Nobody knows they've been snoozed. You don't have to notice them, and then they come back and you're best friends again.
You snooze them for 30 days, and then they come back.
There's someone on Facebook I snooze regularly. I didn't know.
But they always come back.
Yeah, they come back after 30 days. They don't know they've been snoozed. You haven't offended them. But
they come back. It's the same person I shut off 30 days ago.
If you do it 2 or 3 times,
then what happens is in the algorithm, they don't seem to pop up as often.
Oh,
that's kind of why I did it too. There are people that I don't even know why they kept popping up. I barely know them, and they were coming up, and so I would snooze them. And I did it 2 or 3 times, and now I rarely see anything they say.
Yeah.
Well, the trick, if you want them to see what you're saying, like if there's a particular person on social media and you'd like them to see your posts, before you put the post up on your page, go to their page and look at a few of their pictures, and then go back to your page, put the post up, then go back to their page and look at a few more pictures, and they will start seeing your post because you've just told the algorithm that you guys are buddies.
See, that's just terribly frightening, but it makes sense.
But for instance, I often see Johnny's post 3 days later.
I never see Johnny's.
He never sees mine. It's like I said, I posted.
You guys aren't looking at each other's pictures enough. But I like that too, because I was saying before the call that I like the way your personalities play off of each other. Like you guys seem to have different personalities, but you play to each other's strengths. Well, people always think in relationships that one person is like, you know, loud, one person's not loud, one person's shy, one person, but it's not. You guys are equally comfortable, confident, outspoken, but it works really well. Like every question I fielded, you just instinctually knew which one of you was more comfortable asking it. I think that's not just like a couple. I think that's a great working relationship. I could never work with my husband ever. Love him. It took us 7 years to buy a piece of art for the living room. Could never. Wow. You guys work really well together. I admire that. I mean, was it that easy in the beginning?
After I stalked her for a year to get her to go out with me, yeah. After that, things were much easier.
After that, it was a break. I don't know. I think we've just been together a long time, and we started.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of a unique. I mean, she knows what I'm going to say before I say it, and she's adapted to my. I know. I'm not easy to live with. I wouldn't live with me if I didn't have to. So I know that she's
pretty easy going. I don't know.
Oh, I am absolutely Looney Tunes. I have 1,000. Yeah, no, you can't. In the morning I get up bright and chipper. Always. It's right. And people don't like that. Like when I'm up and at 'em, I'm alive the whole time until I run out of juice and I go to sleep.
Like before 10 a.m.
When I pop out of bed, I go to bed around 2 and I'm up around 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
He is from another planet. He just
wakes up and he's up. It's fascinating. I wake up and I'm like, Valley of the Dead for 3 hours. I'm just kind of trying to remember my name and looking for coffee. Yeah, he's just wide awake.
Yeah. I'm very hyper and Joanna isn't, so it's a good mix.
Yeah, especially that would be especially annoying if he goes to bed late, because I'm like that. Like they set you up for a doctor's appointment. I'm like, it has to be 3 hours after I wake up because I have to get ready. 15 minutes from my house.
Our doctor's literally right downstairs.
I still need to. Sorry.
Yeah, there's you need the dressing room, you need the time, you need the 6 espressos. Some things are just non-negotiable. I am so, again, jealous that I don't get to go to the retreat. I've had an outfit waiting for 3 years for me standing by that fireplace that I saw once in a picture with that drink, singing some 1920s song, impressing all the other narrators with my new bonded friendships for life.
Well, I think this is the 8th year and we plan on keeping it going until I drop. So I'm hoping next year I'll be over my whole. You've got to come to New York. I mean, there's so many things we could do.
I would be like Mary Tyler Moore in New York.
I think we'll be in England next year, though. We were going to. Sean and I were going to do it this year in the fall, but things are just falling away. So probably next year we're going to do some workshops in England.
We might do.
If you guys go to England, I will show up for a workshop. Wherever you guys
are.
Yeah,
you're in London, aren't you?
Technically.
Well, so close enough. So wherever we are. I mean, I think Sean told me where we're going to do it because last time I was there, we did London, right in the West End. But I think Reading something. Does that sound close?
Reading, yeah, it's
Reading.
Yeah,
I think that's where he wants us to do it because it's easy to get to or something and cheaper.
Yeah.
So we're doing it. I'll keep you apprised.
Yes.
But anyone, I know we're at the end, anyone who wants to ask things, retreat in the country in France.
Oh God, Colin, you've now become.
I go to France, all I'm going to do is lie around. Paris is my favorite place in the world. Anyway, so if anyone wants to ask us anything, our emails are available. You feel free to send us notes. Because I know this thing ended, and I'm more happy to hear from you. Barbara, nice to see you. I didn't mention your name. Sorry.
You guys, thank you so much for joining us again. And you thought that we'd run out of questions, huh? I learned a lot in this call, and I hope we got all of your questions answered. And I really, really, really am grateful that you guys took the time to join again. I am guilty. It was a tiny bit self-indulgent because I just like hanging out with Johnny and Joanna. So
You can just Zoom us. We can chat. You know, you don't have to make it a public event.
oh, but it's more fun with a group and an audience. It's a party.
Yeah, it was nice to see everyone. And
Yeah.
and anytime I reach out, there we are. All right,
guys. Thank
All
you
right, adieu,
so much. You're all
adieu.
wonderful. Mwah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Take care. Nice to
you.
see everyone.
Bye.
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 See you soon, Lisa. Okay, bye. Bye, Lori. Bye.